They tried to throw a neighborhood party on my dock and load people onto my yacht like it was some free cruise line. And when I told them to get off my property, they said the HOA had already approved it, like I didn't even exist. So I called the sheriff in front of 40 people and watched the HOA president get told she was trespassing on land I legally own. And that was the day this whole perfect little lake community snapped in half. My name is David Carter. I'm 40 and I worked more years than I want to admit in corporate finance. And all I wanted when I finally walked away from that world was quiet. I wanted mornings with coffee on the water. I wanted to hear birds and boat ropes and nothing else. I wanted to breathe without somebody scheduling me. You know what I mean. So I bought this place in Silver Ridge Lake Community, about 40 minutes outside Austin. Gated soft lighting. Everybody waves with that tight suburban smile. Every lawn looks like it gets cut with tweezers. And I thought, yeah, this is it. This is peace. I also bought my boat Halcyon, a 58-foot cruiser. I'd been dreaming about since I was 30. Nothing crazy like some billionaire yacht. But she's beautiful. White hull teak deck, a little bit of pride tied to a lifetime of work. And I kept her tied up on the dock behind my house because that's what the realtor sold me on lake life at your back door. I was happy for maybe 3 weeks. Then I met her. Her name is Lynette Caldwell, president of the Silver Ridge HOA Pearls, before breakfast clipboard, like a weapon voice, like she's rehearsed every line in a mirror. First to that woman who smiles while telling you you're wrong. You've met that type before. Yeah, you have. First sentence she ever said to me wasn't hi. Welcome. It was. You're parked 4 inches over the curb line. Silver Ridge design standards don't allow that. And I remember thinking, wow. Okay, so this is how we live here. We measure inches and call it community. I can live with petty. I really can. I've dealt with CFOs who make her look like a hobby project, but petty turned into crazy real fast the day she decided my boat was hers to schedule. I was down at the water wiping down Halcyon's railing, just minding my business on a Saturday morning, sun's barely up. Lake looks like glass, and I hear heels on wood behind me, sharp fast, like authority arriving. Lynette's standing there with her sunglasses and that cool little fake smile and says, "That's new," looking at Halcyon. I go, "Yeah." She nods and hits me with, "Very community-minded of you," which is a weird thing to say about a boat I paid for, right? So I ask what she means, and she says it like it's already settled. All vessels stored in the Silver Ridge Marina are considered community recreation assets. We'll be scheduling lake tours and family days. I'll need your availability calendar by Friday. I honestly thought she was joking. I laughed. I said, "You don't book other people's boats." And she just stared at me and said, "Refuse and you'll be fined daily. HOA rules are law here." 3 days later, there's a notice taped to my front door. Formal letterhead, red ink talking about how I'm required to submit a reservation schedule for Halcyon so other residents can use it. Or I'll start getting charged $500 a day for non-compliance, like I was running some illegal charter business out of my backyard. First feeling was disbelief, like there's no way this is serious. Second feeling was that heavy, slow anger in your chest when you realize somebody's not just annoying. They're actually trying to take something from you. I called her and said, "Lynette, this is private property." And she said, totally calm, "No, David, the marina and shoreline are common assets you agreed to community oversight when you purchased." Then, and this part is important, she drops the nice voice and slides in the threat voice. "If you choose to escalate instead of cooperating, you'll be creating unnecessary friction with your neighbors." Not breaking rules, causing friction. You hear it right, that's how people like her work. They don't come out and say, "I'm going to ruin you." They say you're not a team player, and let the crowd do the rest. And the crowd showed up fast. I became the guy who won't share what's supposed to be for everyone in less than a week. I wasn't even in the neighborhood Facebook group yet, and I already had neighbors looking at me like I was hoarding medicine during a hurricane. Lynette sent out one of those HOA emails with phrases like, "Certain individuals are attempting to privatize access to shared waterfront amenities, which goes against the spirit of Silver Ridge." Never said my name didn't have to people connected the dots. Suddenly I'm getting dirty looks on my own street. A guy with 2 jet skis won't even wave anymore, and I'm waking up to violation slips on my door. Failure to participate in shared amenities, lack of community cooperation, $500 due immediately. You start to feel crazy, like am I really the bad guy here for not lending out my boat to strangers and paying for their fuel? Like am I missing something obvious? And here's where things turn. Here's the twist. Everybody in Silver Ridge just sort of believed the HOA owned all the marina space, right? Like it was just neighborhood truth. We all repeated it. But when I bought my house, the original developer didn't just sell me the house. They sold me the dock, the shoreline behind it, and that whole little elbow of marina directly off my backyard, on paper legally. This wasn't shared waterfront. It was mine. My dirt, my pilings, my slip, my access. The HOA, including Lynette, had been strutting around on a section of property they didn't legally control. So yeah, I brought receipts. And Lynette did not like that. She doubled down. She sends out invites for this community lake day and just announces it like a done deal. And on a Saturday morning, I walk outside with my coffee, and I almost drop the mug because there are like 40 people setting up folding tables and speakers and a full-size grill on my dock balloons, tied to my railing coolers lined up. And Lynette, standing in a pink blazer with a megaphone saying, "We'll start boarding Halcyon at noon," like she's directing a cruise ship. And then I see 2 teenagers I've never met trying to cut the lock on my gangway with bolt cutters, like it's their job. I walked down and said, calm, not yelling, "Lynette, get off my dock." And she smiled in front of everyone and said, "David, don't be dramatic. This is a community event we'll clean up when we're done." Like I was the one making a scene at my own property. I told her very plain, "You and everyone here are trespassing. You've got 3 minutes to clear the dock, or I'm calling the sheriff." And she did that little superior laugh and said, "You wouldn't call the police on your own neighbors. It'll make you look hostile." I said, "Watch me." I called on speaker nice and loud. Sheriff shows up, 2 deputies. Whole crowd goes quiet, like somebody hit a mute button. Lynette runs to them like she's in charge, flashing her HOA badge. By the way, the badge is plastic. I have one. Now it's hilarious. And she's telling them this is all sanctioned. It's an HOA event. There's no crime here, and the deputy just walks right past her and asks me, "You're the property owner." I hand him the deed, the survey, the shoreline control paperwork, the whole stack. He looks at it, looks at her, and says, "Ma'am, this is private property. You and your guests need to clear the area right now." And the way her face fell in that moment, I won't lie, I felt something close to joy. You could feel the whole mood flip. People started panicking, yanking down decorations, pretending they hadn't just been trying to pop beers on my boat. And Lynette leaned in real close and whispered, "You just made an enemy of this HOA." And I told her, "I'll take my chances." Now you'd think getting shut down by law enforcement in front of half the neighborhood would make a person chill. But no, that just made her mean. After that, I got daily violation notices, middle of the night, emails about ongoing hostility. my access card to the clubhouse pool and gym got cut off. And one morning I woke up to a brand new aluminum fence blocking the access road down to my own dock with a sign that said, HOA access only. Trespassers will be fined. She literally tried to physically block me from getting to my own marina and sent guys in little security shirts to stand there like bouncers. And on top of that, someone tried to break into Halcyon in the middle of the night, messed with the engine, housing left tools all over the deck like they were trying to disable her or trash her, like this was personal now, not politics. I had cameras rolling. Of course I did. And when we pulled the footage, you could see everything. 3 kids creeping down the dock at 1 a.m., flashlights whispering, trying to pry my engine compartment open, and one of them clear as day, face right in frame, was her son. You ever see an entitled parent go quiet? That brings us to the last part. Lynette called an emergency HOA meeting to talk about my so-called behavior, and I showed up with my lawyer and a projector, and I let her do her whole speech about how I was threatening the harmony of Silver Ridge and refusing to cooperate with community expectations, and how there would be disciplinary action against me. And once she was done trying to make me sound like a violent problem, I said real calm, "Are we done?" And then I played the video of her son trying to break into my boat. The whole room went still. People who'd been nodding along with her 5 minutes earlier were now looking at her like she'd just spit in their coffee. She tried to spin it. She actually said, "Those boys were just checking for a fuel leak for everyone's safety." And the crowd kind of laughed, and not in a kind way. One of the board members stood up, quiet guy, older, not a fighter type, and said, "I motion for a vote of no confidence in President Caldwell," and they literally passed slips of paper around the room like a jury. Final count was something like 80-something% in favor of removing her immediately. She lost her title in front of everybody, lost her script, lost that control. She loved more than anything, and she had to walk out while people she'd bossed around for years refused to even look at her. So here's my question for you, and be honest, because I really want to know if I'm the villain in this story or not. Would you have called the sheriff on your own HOA president? Or would you have just let her use your property to keep the peace? And do you think people like Lynette are just bossy or actually dangerous? Like dangerous? The way power can get dangerous when nobody checks it. Tell me where you're watching from and what time it has hit. Like if you're still here, and drop your HOA horror story in the comments because I need to know if this is normal or if my neighborhood is just its own reality show.